celebrate. They have done it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the match preview for Newcastle United's upcoming game this Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. Not many of them this season, is there? Against Ipswich Town at St James's Park. Newcastle have got a chance to banish the ghost of Villa Park at home, and probably one of the most ideal fixtures you could ask for. A bottom three team, a team that almost looks destined for relegation. No offense, Ipswich, it's probably coming and you guys probably know it. But this game is also steeped with the memory of the late, great Sir Bobby Robson, who managed both these clubs spectacularly well. A lot more success at Ipswich than he had with us, but he's affectionately remembered by both clubs. I'm sure there'll be an outpouring of love for the great man on the day as well. But let's get stuck in to the fixture, talk about how I think the lads are going to line up, talk a little bit about what Ipswich can bring, the threats that they have as well, probably one in particular, which we know we're going to talk about. But just before I do, if you're just checking us out for the first time, smash subscribe, help get us to the next milestone. There's a few of you who have clicked unsubscribe since my previous match review of the Villa game, where I was a little bit annoyed. You don't have to click unsubscribe, guys, if you don't like what I'm saying. I'm just a little bit annoyed. I'm allowed to be passionate. It is a passionate game after all. But if you're checking us out for the first time, smash subscribe and maybe fill the gaps that they've left behind. So let's get stuck in then. This is how I think Newcastle United are going to line up against Ipswich at St James's Park. Now, this potentially could change if Fabian Schär can't shake off his hamstring injury. It looked like he picked up at Villa Park. I mean, he was tied up a notch, really. He got a goal to get us back into the game, but he was all over the place against Villa, as was most of that back four, really. But we just got on the premise that Schär will shake off that injury. So we're going for Nick Pope in goal, Kieran Trippier at right back, who again had a bit of a shaky game. It must be said against Villa, I think everybody did, but Trips in particular looked really off the pace. Very quick, dynamic, aggressive play from Villa. Ipswich have got some players who can do that, but I think at home we should have enough to see them off, really. But Fabian Schär, if he's fit to play in that back four alongside Dan Burn and Tino Livramento continuing at left back. Now, Schär can't make it, I think. Utility man, Swiss Army knife, or Swedish Army knife in this case, being Emil Kraft will slot in at right side and centre half. Now, the midfield three is the standard midfield three. We've got Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton. I would be tempted actually to rest Bruno and bring in Louis Miley in a game like this, because I think Newcastle will dominate the play. I think we'll have most of the ball. I think it'd be a great game for Louis Miley to start, get on the ball, try and make things happen. He's been a little bit off, I think, in his cameos of late. A lot of talk about potentially loaning him out and that kind of a noise as well. I think he's an excellent player. He needs more game time this season. We've seen what he can do when he comes in. Great goals against Bromley in the Cup and against Forest in the league. The lad is a quality player. Give him a start and let's see what happens. I mean, obviously, Eddie Howe may be back on the touchline as well. It's not been confirmed yet, even though Sportsmore, who use him for the reference for the lineup, have already said that Howe's going to be back. He might be back, he might not be back. I'm waiting for the club to confirm that. But I'd be really tempted to rest Bruno because he looked knackered against Aston Villa. I think he needs a rest. He's one of them types of players, Bruno, when he's slightly off it, he looks way off it. The pace isn't there. He threw his toys out the pram against Villa. He was making stupid tackles. He was lucky not to get a yellow card even earlier, and he did get a yellow card. So I would happily see captain sit on the bench for this game and let Louis Minor have his turn. But I don't think either Jason Tintall or Eddie Howe will do that. He'll stick with the main midfield three. Now, front three, Alexander Isak through the middle, who again looked tired as well. You could easily rest Isak in this game. I think you could play Wilson up top. Wilson hasn't looked that sharp since he's come back. He looks slower. He looks more kind of lethargic, and really struggling to get back into the Callum Wilson of old. This could be a great game for Callum as well, with Ipswich leaving loads of gaps at the back defensively. Callum could get himself a goal or two and really get back into the swing of things. But I think Isak will start this game. Isak's looking for more record-breaking goals again in this game. Now, the three up front, we've made a slight change here. I think Murphy may get a rest in this game. Murphy looked tired again against Villa. A lot of players looked tired against Villa. A lot of that team just went. And it is a question of squad depth. It's also a question of rotating the squad that you have. When you're 3 and 4 at half time, you've got to make some changes and let these players rest. And we didn't do that. So this is the consequence that we have. Players get burned out a little bit. But I think Murphy may get a rest in this game. And what we'll see is Gordon go on the left-hand side and Barnes shoved out to the right, because that seems to be the way things are happening right now. And if Eddie is back, he might go the other way. He might put Gordon on the right, which he's done before, and have Barnes on the left. But I think the front three of the old notorious BIJ, as Craig Court once called them, will be starting this game. And I think we've got so many players to cause threats for Ipswich Town. I really do. I mean, looking at the way they lined up in the last game, and they got battered 4-0 against Arsenal. Leif Davis, obviously Geordie boy, Wallsend Boys Club boy, was sent off, so he won't be able to play in this game. I think Burgess will probably come in for him at left back. We'll look at their team in a minute, but there's loads of space in behind that team. I mean, players like Twanzebe, Manchester United academy graduate, hasn't quite hit the heights. O'Shea's not a bad player, but again, him and Greaves leave space at the back. I think we can definitely penetrate that back four. They had a midfield at 4 across with their former Sunderland winger Jack Clarke, who is a dangerous little player at times, got a little bit of pace, a little bit trickery about him, but I think he would be easily dealt with, with regards to Kieran Trippier and his experience handling him. If he goes up to the deciding team whose pace would deal with him. That is a Kajuste and Morsey in midfield with Ben Johnson out on the other side. That and Seso, who was decent at Brighton, he causes some problems as well, and he has got some assists this season. They had Hurst leading the line, but I think Liam Delap will come back in for Kieran McKenna's side. So looking at their team in terms of what Sportsmole have got them down as in terms of their proposed lineup. So they've got Palmer, Twanzebe, O'Shea, Greaves, Burgess coming in at left back, Morsey, Kajuste, Johnson, and Seso, Clarke, and Delap. Now, Liam Delap is an excellent player. There's no doubt about that at all. He's been linked to Newcastle even recently, apparently, most likely probably when Ipswich go down. There's a 30 million quid release clause there. I think that's decent money for this player. He reminds me a lot of a young Harry Kane, the way he can hold the ball up, he can run in behind, he's got a good touch, a little bit of pace, knows where the onion bag is. In 32 games this season, he's got 12 goals. In a relegation side, they're sitting 18th right now. Ipswich, they need 15 points from the last 5 games. But they also need West Ham to lose all of their fixtures to stay up. So if Newcastle beat them in a canter on Saturday and West Ham even get a point against Brighton, that's Ipswich back down to the Championship, which would mean the 3 promoted sides are being relegated again. Now, that's a whole different story altogether, in terms of how much of a chance the promoted 3 teams have in an FFP PSR world in the Premier League. I could do a whole podcast episode on that myself, to be honest with you, which I might do going forward. The likes of Gary Neville, people talked about as well. Something is really worrying about that, because what's the point in getting promoted to the Premier League if you can't stay there? It really is a concern. But in terms of the players, the dangerous players that Ipswich possess, Liam Delap is definitely the main man. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. He really is a dangerous player. As I said, his ability to hold the ball up, to spin in behind. He scores all types of goals as well. He scored rakers, he scored headers, he's scored goals where he's muscled out the centre half. He scored goals with clever movement. The lad is a really, really good player. Sammy Smolix, again, former Blackburn player, caused us some problems before in previous fixtures. He's got 4 and 19. He's a dangerous player as well. He can play as an attacking midfielder, or he can come on and play as a centre forward. You've got Omari Hutchinson as well, former Chelsea Youth Academy player. He's a decent player as well, a bit of speed, a little bit of trickery as well, able to pop up in little pockets of space. He can cause you some trouble as well. And again, Jack Clarke, as I mentioned before, can be dangerous. He's got 4 assists this season, and Ciso's got 3 assists. So it's not like they're a completely rubbish side, Ipswich. They have shown moments this season way better than the likes of Southampton. Southampton look absolute dog shit every single week, really, and very rarely have you looked at them, even with the likes of Tyler Dibling, was being called at 100 million quid. Even those players didn't look like they were really going to do anything. But the likes of Delap, and Hutchinson and players like that, they have looked handy at times. They really have. They've had some decent results this season, even though they're going to go down, I suppose, relatively easily in many ways. But they're drawn against Chelsea. They're no mugs, and sometimes these kind of endangered species teams can be the most dangerous ones to play, because people rock up to the fixture thinking this is going to be a piece of piss. We'll batter these, and then they turn around and just surprise you a little bit. So I don't think Eddie Howe, Jason Tindall, whoever's running the team on Saturday, whoever's on the touchline, I don't think they'll take Ipswich Town for granted. I quite like McKenna, and I like the way that he plays football. I really do. I thought he was destined for a little bit bigger things. No disrespect to Ipswich, and you can laugh about that, but look at Burnley. Burnley came up, didn't change their style of play under Company, got absolutely hammered week in, week out. Then he went and got the fucking Bayern Munich job, and he's doing really well. Looks like he might win the Bundesliga, got quite far in the Champions League. So there's nothing to say that McKenna might not end up in a bigger job than Ipswich potentially. But I do like the guy. I like the way he plays football. I like his philosophy, and he's got some good players there. If he sticks it with Ipswich next season, maybe in the Championship, they can get a good chance of coming back up. But I think Newcastle will be looking to put down a marker here, looking to make a statement. So we are still 3rd in the Premier League. We've got a chance here of Champions League. We've got a really, really good chance of Champions League. Manchester City managed to just get a win against Villa midweek, which was a great result for us in all fairness. I beg your pardon, we're 5th as I'm saying. That's what we're talking about. City are 3rd, my bad. We are 5th on 59 points. But if we win that game, then obviously we go ahead of Manchester City back into 3rd position. Nottingham Forest again picked up a victory against the completely hopeless Spurs. They're back in 4th position. But we've got a really good chance here of finishing in the top 5. And it is definitely in our hands. And we've got to play Chelsea as well at home. And we could take points off them. There's no doubt about that at all. And Arsenal, away is a difficult fixture, but they're throwing away points a little bit. I think they've got one eye in the Champions League. So Newcastle got a really strong chance here of qualifying for the Champions League. It is in our hands, there's no doubt about it at all. We've got a game in hand against a lot of the teams around us, and we've got to play some of those teams so we can take points off them. So in terms of the fixture, I think this is going to be, I don't want to sound too cocky here, I think it's going to go 3-0 to Newcastle United. I think it's going to be a relatively easy day's work in terms of controlling the game. Newcastle need to start strong, hard, fast against Ipswich. They don't need to be sitting in, and showing them any respect. They need to be right in their faces from minute 1, like we were against Palace. Go for that jugular straight away. And if we get an early goal or 2 in the first 20 minutes, Ipswich should fold relatively quickly because they don't really have anything else other than Liam Delap up front to get them back into a game. But make no mistake about it, Dan Burn and Cher or Kraft, whoever's going to play as a centre-back pairing, are going to have their hands full with this kid. He is a really, really talented player. 22 years old, 15 million quid was a snip, in my opinion, to get him in the summer. There is talk of Newcastle being interested in him and potentially bringing him in to partner Alexander Isak in times. And obviously with the extra games we may have next season with the Champions League. But we'll have European football no matter what it is because of the win of the Carabao Cup gives us the Europa Conference football guaranteed. So we'll have European football next season. So maybe someone like Liam Flatt will look at that and say, I will get games at Newcastle and go there. But other teams are interested in him. Manchester United apparently interested in him. I think Chelsea are interested in him as well. Spurs will be interested in him. So he will have his pick of clubs next season, no doubt about it. So we'll be interested if Newcastle are ambitious enough to win the race for that lad, because I think he'd be an excellent player for us. So we'll be keeping an eye on him, I think, in terms of how good he is as a player. But hopefully he has a shite game on Saturday because we've controlled him. But in terms of the Premier League form going to this game, we've won 5 of our last 6. And Ipswich have only won 1 of their last 6. So on paper, it looks like a home banker, really. But football is never played on paper, is it? And I think this will have some tricky elements in this game in terms of his managing and dealing with Liam Delap and trying to stop him and nullify his play. Cut off the supply to him as well. I think the full-backs are to be in much better form than they were at Villa Park. Certainly likes Kieran Trippier, but he was blowing his arse out trying to catch some of the speedy players at Villa. We don't need that. This game, we need that controlled, experienced performance in Trippier, which we know he can bring, and he has brought for the last few weeks. But Villa Park was maybe an off day for Trippier, maybe an off day for a few others as well. And hopefully the lads will put this right against Ipswich at home on Saturday. And it would be great to see Eddie Howe back on this touchline in the dugout. Obviously, if he's fit and healthy enough to do it, as I said in my video earlier on when I talked about Eddie Howe getting back to training, which is amazing for the football club. Having the main man back, no doubt, will give those players an extra 10, 20% going into Saturday. And I'm confident Newcastle will deliver a performance to make up for last week at Villa Park and then push on to that Champions League finish. And boy, it's in our hands, and we need to do everything we can do to get that victory. So thanks for watching, guys. Click like and subscribe. I'll be back with a live post-match analysis to the Ipswich game. Come and join us in the chat as always. Keep it evermore. Have a belter. We'll see you later. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.